In the first video, we talked about getting a referral link and we explored the port a little. Hopefully you managed to get a referral link and you have your account set up. In this video, we'll kick off with the training mission and then we'll look at some settings you can change to make your life easier when playing. Let's get started. So following on from the last video, you need to go to the top of the screen where it says Co-op Battle and change it to Introductory Mission. And then when you're ready, simply press the big red battle button to begin. It says please select a ship. So this is not normal, this is just for the tutorial. So I think we're going to go with the Hashidate, sorry. Okay, here we are. So this is kind of along the lines of a game mode called Operations, which is player versus environment, PvE, where missions come up in the top left-hand corner here, and it gives you hints about what you're supposed to do. And then this is the minimap, if I make it a bit bigger, down in the bottom corner. Those shots that just came over us are from those ships there. So this is our ship down here. I can zoom in using my mouse scroll wheel. I can move the camera around to look, and then when I look, the guns follow to where I'm going. If I want the guns to keep pointing that way while I change direction, I can hold the right mouse button. And the guns, if you see, are not turning, but my camera is. And then if I let go of the right mouse button, the camera will zap back round to where I was. Now, on the minimap here, you can see some circles. So this big solid circle here is my gun range. And then the dotted circle is my spotted range. It's my concealment, it's usually referred to. And this is the circle inside which enemy ships will spot me. So that ship there will be able to see me. Okay, I'm going to start shooting this destroyer now. So zoom in for more accurate timing. So I'm going to shift, which is an immediate zoom. I can also use the scroll wheel to zoom. It's not a very good way of doing it, so we're just going to use shift. He's going quite slowly, so we're just going to aim just in front of him and double click to fire all the guns. You can also single click to fire one gun at a time, double click to fire all the guns that are ready, or hold the mouse button down to fire the guns sequentially, and you just keep the button held down and it fires. Most people, most of the time, will choose to fire in volleys by double clicking. I'll show you what that looks like zoomed out. I'll probably miss like that. It's not advisable. See, I missed. It's not advisable to aim like this unless the ship is very close to you. You're going to want to zoom in. If you're too close, you can zoom out a click using the mouse wheel. Don't worry too much about getting killed in this mission. It's designed so that you can't do that very easily, or maybe at all. So just take some time to get used to how the ship moves. It's W, A, S, and D to move. So W is going forwards, S is go backwards, but of course it's a ship, so you have to sort of change gear, as it were, so you can come to a stop, and the ship will take some time to respond. To go backwards, I will put it into full reverse, and again the ship will take quite a long time to stop. See, I'm still not going backwards, now I'm going backwards. It takes quite a long time to respond, and if I decide now to accelerate, it's going to take quite a long time for the ship to come to a stop and move forwards. And when you get the bigger ships, the battleships, they take a long time to respond. It can take a minute maybe to stop and start going in the other direction. So this is a capture zone over here, this red circle. These will become quite familiar to you. So the mission is to move into Area A and capture it, so we're going to do that now. This is something that you have to do quite frequently in the game, especially if you're in a destroyer type ship. We happen to be in a cruiser at the moment, which is denoted by this single line through the ship icon here. These other ones here are battleships that have the double line. Destroyers are triangles, like the ones you just saw that we destroyed. And there's one other type of ship, which is a carrier, which has a completely different symbol, which is sort of a right-angled lines design. So we've captured A. The next mission is to capture area B. So we'll move on. Oh, the other thing you can see is also where I'm aiming. If you look on the mini-map, here you can see a circle. That's where the shells will land when I fire. So you can see I can go all the way out to my maximum range. So here's some cruisers. Oh, no, they're shooting at me now. So I've got double fire and my engine. So I've got fires. So I've got 2 fires here. And also my engine is broken, which means that I can't accelerate. And there is a remedy for that, which is this damage control party ability here. So if I press that, you'll see that the fires go out and the engine is repaired. The problem with that is that now I can't use that again for a little bit. And so if I get set on fire again now, that fire is going to burn for quite a long time. Or if they break my engine will be broken for a long time. So one of the skills in the game is learning when to use this ability. And there are other abilities like that that have a timer on them. And you need to learn when is a good time to use them and when is a bad time to use them. One down. Next one. So notice I'm not shooting here, because if I shoot there, the shells will land behind the ship because it's moving forwards. So you need to kind of guess roughly where. You can actually calculate it, but most people just use intuition. I think it's the best way to go. You can see that, and if the first shot, you're not quite on target, so a bit far back, then you can just move forward, adjust, aiming at the water line roughly. Don't worry too much about where to aim at the moment. Just try and hit the ship. So because he's going away from me, I'm having to aim slightly past where the ship is. Because by the time my shells get there, the ship has moved. These things up here are ribbons. Like battle ribbons, and they tell me what I've done during that match. And then this here is my damage. And we'll actually adjust some of the settings so some other interesting information comes up here as well. Sink the enemy battleship. So I need to turn this on permanently, but if you hold Alt, you can get some extra information about the ship that you're targeting. So you can see here it's a Michigan-class battleship. The name of the ship is Boss. And there you can see the number of hit points he has left, so 5,400 out of 30,000. As I said, don't worry too much about getting sunk in this. I'm pretty sure that the guns have been designed not to hit you, so you've pretty much got all the time you want to just play around, get the feel of the ship, start manoeuvring maybe, have a look at how the guns turn, have a look at how the ship responds with the rudder. You can A and D to turn with the rudder manually, or you can actually use the Q and E keys to set it to half and full turn. In case you want to be doing something else at the same time as turning, or you just don't want to hold the key down. If you're turning 180 degrees, sometimes that's just quite a nice way to do it, especially in a battleship where it can take quite a long time to turn around. So the other gun has rotated now. So the guns can take a while to rotate around, so that's one of the considerations that you need to make. If you turn around, your guns are going to take a long time to turn around. If I look this way, see how slowly the guns turn. That's definitely a consideration. So now if I wanted to shoot something over here, I couldn't, unless I turned the ship or waited. Okay, capture area B complete. And mission complete. So this is the results screen. You'll get one of these after every match. It doesn't matter on the match type, you always get a results screen. It tells you some information about the battle, tells you whether you won or lost and which ship you were in, and this is quite common to see on results websites and Discord and Reddit and places like that. People will post the results screen to show off how well or how badly they did. So it shows your total damage and how many ribbons you got, like target hits and fires and that kind of thing, and how many ships you destroyed. And then when you finished, you can press the back to port button to go back to port. And when you get into the main game and you get more account levels, you'll get more information on that screen. So now we can see, if I go back down to the eye, I actually have a battle result here. So if you mouse over it, you get some information. If you click on it, you go back to the results screen. And you can always do that as long as you don't log out. Okay, let me just go through some of these settings here that we might want to change. So as well as the normal graphic settings, and I would recommend if you play on multiple monitors, so I have 2 monitors here, I highly recommend playing in full screen windowed mode, because it means that you don't have to Alt-Tab and you can just mouse out of the game. You can type in Discord or do whatever it is that you're doing on the other screen, and you don't get that delay, that draw delay between the other monitor and the game. I highly recommend that. The game actually copes really well with full screen windowed. You can set these graphic settings. I'm not going to go through these. You can set these yourself, or you can just take the automatic settings. Are perfectly fine. The one thing I will point out now is that UI scaling has been introduced. So you'll notice here I'm playing on a 4K screen, but you're watching this on a 1080 video. That used to be very difficult until a very recent patch where this UI scaling was introduced that increases the size of everything in the game in terms of the UI, which is great now. So you can just click this optimal button and it will make everything the right size for your screen. So if you play on a 1440 screen or a 4K screen, then this is going to be very useful for you. If you find the default view a bit cluttered and you're not doing something like making videos or streaming, then you can maybe reduce it a little bit, and the interface will get a bit smaller, and give you a bit more space to look at the game in. But if you're making a video like me, then that's going to be too small for people to watch, so I'm going to change it back to how it was. Anything else on here? So reduce fire and floating effects. If you find the fire effects a little bit too much, you can turn that down. That might be something you want to do. The volume levels, so you might want to fiddle with these. You might want to turn the music down or off, depending on whether you like that kind of thing. Sound quality, I highly recommend if you've got a powerful machine with the ability to run it to change the sound quality to ultra, because it does make a difference. Voiceover language, obviously there's lots of different languages. This is the language that the captains and some of the people in some of the missions talk in. So you can set it to a single language. So I'm going to change mine to United Kingdom because I'm British. Or you can change it here, voiceover modification. You can change it to national or national voiceover plus. If you change it to national, what that means is that the default is this. But if you were in a Japanese ship, for example, then the commander will talk in Japanese. And if you're in a French ship, it will talk French and so on. That's quite a nice touch if you like the sort of historical aspect. But you just have to bear in mind that if you don't speak Japanese, you won't understand what they're saying, and what they're saying can be quite important when you first start playing the game. Once you're experienced, you don't need to know anymore because you know what they're saying. So what I would recommend, when you start playing, make this standard and change this to your language or a language that you understand, until you learn the game, and then you can change it to national if you want the historical aspect to it. Because it is very nice to be in a ship of a certain nationality and to hear that voice. What National Voiceover Plus means is that as well as the nation sounds for the ships that you're playing, you also get the anime content if you have any anime ships or other similar special ships that are non-historical. So you would hear, if you on a Japanese ship, for example, you would hear a Japanese captain, but if you then stick one of the anime captains in that ship, you would then hear the anime voiceover rather than the traditional national voiceover. You can fiddle with these things if you want to, they're not very important. You can enable, the game does have in-game voice chat. I've never actually used it. Most people use Discord or TeamSpeak to talk to other people in the game. And there are certainly huge communities around, particularly Discord. And a lot of clans use TeamSpeak. But you can enable that if you want to. So you can talk to division mates. We'll get into divisions in another video. You can also change these if you want to, and you can turn on a radio communication effect, which is added to the voices in the game. You can turn these on and off. I'm going to leave those on actually. You can also play your own music from your own folder if you have some MP3s or something on your computer. So that's all fine. And then controls. This is where we need to make a few changes. So what we're going to do is, that's fine, it's okay. We're going to select crosshair, and we are going to change it to dynamic. I'm not going to explain why now, but we're going to change it to dynamic, just trust me. So that's that, and we go back into the settings. And then also, terrain hit indicator is on, so that's going to tell you when your guns are going to hit terrain rather than shooting over terrain, which is very useful. Collision avoidance system, I would leave this on for now, but eventually, probably, you're going to want to turn it either into binocular view or off once you get to know the game. This just basically means that your ship avoids islands. It won't let you hit an island if you try to steer towards it. On just means it will always do it. You can override it with the keys if you want to, but if you take your fingers off the keys, then it will start to avoid it again, and it can get you into trouble if you're not careful, particularly if you're trying to like hide behind an island. You can end up going around the island, so you need to watch that. On will always do it. In binocular view will only do it when you're zoomed in, because obviously when you're zoomed in you can't see where you're going very well, and so one of the things you want to be able to do is zoom out every now and again just to have a look at where you are, keep an eye on the minimap. So that might be a good setting to start off with, actually. And then eventually you'll almost certainly want to turn that off. Alternative interface mode, you want to turn that on to full. I'm not going to explain why, just do it. It will give you more information in the game. Team lineups is up to you. This will display on each side the ships which are in the game. A lot of people use mods to do this kind of thing, but you might want to turn that on. The load indicators, you will also want to turn that on. Don't turn rotate minimap on, that's very confusing. That one, you can disable your AA guns and your secondary guns. That will turn them back on if you target them onto something. That's a sensible thing to have, so I think that's okay. Smoke stream boundaries you will definitely want on, so this is a circle on the surface of the water that shows you where the actual mechanical end of the smoke is, because the graphics go a little bit past the boundary. Smoke screen timer you will want. Turn these two on because that's extra information about how you are doing in the game. We'll explain that a little bit later in another video. You might also want the time in the port. I have this on just to remind me how long I've been playing for. It's not time elapsed, it's just the clock, the local clock of your computer. Don't worry about that one, but turn it on. You can also do key mappings, so if you want to change any of the keys, that's fine, but the default keys are pretty good. But if you want to do that, you can. So I think that is it. So in the next video, we will cover the other half of level 1, which is to do our first co-op battle. So please do come and join me then. Please do like and subscribe for more, and join the StatsFolk Discord, link in the description. Take care of each other, and I'll speak to you soon.